We are wrapping up February and Black History Month by highlighting not only a Washington football team employee, but a female entrepreneur and all-around goal-getter of a woman. I'm laughing because I was stalking her LinkedIn last night and she is incredible. I'm Jade Kenny, and joining me is Stephanie DeJokian and Janine Samuels, and this is The Wow, brought to you by Fresh Fine Wine.
Yes, incredible indeed. So much so that we're going to do things a little different today. Our show is going to actually be a mix of Wow Spotlight and Wow Home Field. Today we have Hairat Babalola, Senior Manager, Suite Sales and Service for the Washington football team and co-owner of Tribal Wave Medical Apparel. Hairat, hello and welcome to the Wow.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, most definitely. I am so excited. Cannot wait for everyone to just learn a little bit more about you. But first, of course, we're a little biased. We want to start and talk Washington football. So can you tell us just a little bit about your position here with the team?
Yes, so I oversee the suites and the suite service and the sales side of the business. I work alongside all of the sales reps and all of the client service reps, and I'm also in client service. So I help out with the sales guys, I help with the client service team, and I also manage accounts as well.
So you have your hands in a lot of different things. So out of everything that you do, like, what do you love most about your position?
I like the hybrid. I love the fact that I can still use my sales background that got me into sports. And I also enjoy the client service side of it, touch points with the clients, making sure that they're taken care of and having a great experience. It's been 10 years of a lot of experience that now I get to use in one space, and it's pretty exciting.
And you know what? I want to touch on that a little bit. I'm sorry, guys. Like, as y'all can see, I'm super excited about this conversation because I've had the opportunity to interview you, before. But a lot of people may want to or are curious about getting into sports. And you said that you got into sports with sales. So can you just quickly share how that even happened?
Yeah, it actually fell on my lap. I was on Teamwork Online, which I'm sure most people know about. And at the time, 10 years ago, there was a program called the Sports Sales Combine. And it says exactly what you think. It's a combine for people interested in getting into sales. And you had all of your inside sales managers in one room, all of your prospects, and you basically got up there and showed off your skills. Granted, I had no sales skills, but I was like, I'm going to try my best and see what happens. It was in New York with the New York Knicks, and they had about 10 to 15 different teams from all over the country. And I did a great job, I guess. I got a lot of job offers that day to start as an inside sales rep, and I ended up going to Phoenix, Arizona to start my career. And it was probably the best choice that I made at the time.
That's awesome. And so actually share with everyone from Phoenix where you've gone from there, because I know you as well from our board. But yeah, I mean, she's got a wealth of experience.
So I started in Phoenix in inside sales. So the basic grinding the phone, 100 phone calls, tons of face-to-face appointments, arena tours. And then I transitioned into group sales. So the nice thing about the Phoenix Suns is they also own the Phoenix Mercury. So I was able to sell group tickets to the WNBA and the NBA, which really honed in on my sales skills because the WNBA is a tough product to sell. They're, $10 tickets and your goal was $100,000. And so you had to sell a lot of $10 tickets to get to $100,000. So I did pretty well with that. I had a great relationship with their president at the time, Amber Cox. She recently just got a new role in women's national soccer, which is awesome. But I learned a lot from that position because it forced me to grind. Like you had to work hard to get to your number. Like $10 tickets, it's a lot of tickets. So from there, I did that for about 3.5 years, and I knew that I wanted to go to grad school. It was always a dream of mine, mostly my father's. And since I'm a daddy's girl, I'm like, okay, let me find ways to make you happy. So I got into grad school for free through a program that Dr. Sutton, who is a big name in sports, he really has pioneered a lot of the different programs that we use today. And he actually helped me get into University of South Florida, did that for 2 years. But while I was there, I was able to work for the Lightning, which was a really great opportunity because I don't watch hockey at the time. I knew nothing about hockey. But the beautiful thing about sports is you don't really need to know about the sport itself. You just really need to learn more about the business side of it, and you can translate that to any sport or any league. So I did that for 2 years and then moved on to the Miami Dolphins. Did that for another 3.5 years and then had a kid and took some time off and then landed with the Redskins at the time, now Washington football team. So I've been to quite a few teams, different leagues, but I can honestly say it's helped shape my perspective and the things that I can contribute to the Washington football team now.
Yeah, I think that the ability for you to move around and, take chances and risks for a lot of women, I know I struggle with that at times, like picking up and moving, but I think that is exactly what helps you to move your career along to where it is today. So it's brave.
Yeah, it wasn't easy and I was doing it alone, but it definitely shaped the woman that I am now. I'm definitely a lot more agile than the average.
And speaking of agile, obviously we all know it's been a crazy year and now moving on to a year and a half. How did your role and your position change and how did you adjust and adapt during this COVID world?
Honestly, I think it's just the Sweets team itself. We had to adapt quite a bit from in-person selling and in-person servicing to figuring out unique virtual ways to get in front of our clients. Our entire team is very creative. There's a lot of experience on the Sweet side of the business, and we just got creative and we got down to business with whether it was virtual events or emailing campaigns. Now that we have a new SVP overseeing our department, it really has forced us to now think of, okay, what is the KPI behind what we're doing? Is there a real reason? If not, let's shift and figure out a way to add value, but also make sure there's a return for the Washington football team. So it's been great. It's forced me to put on my thinking cap a lot more and reach back in my back of my head, like, okay, what did we do then at this time? I worked through a lockout during the NBA season. So like we had to get creative back then. Like, so what can I bring from there into what we're doing today? So it's been great. It's been humbling. And I'm just so grateful that the Washington football team has kept all of us and having a job during this pandemic. So yeah.
Yeah, amen to that. Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about the pandemic and having to be agile, the nurses and the medical staff and the people, the first responders are right there making sure that people are able to get to the hospital and hopefully live. And it's huge right now, and especially with your company. We were looking at your website for Tribal Wave medical apparel, and there's just such an amazing story about why you and your husband started the company. So can you share that with our listeners?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to be honest. My husband, this is his baby. This is his brainchild. And when he told me about it initially, I was like, I don't know, baby. I don't think I'm not sure if it's a good idea. And only reason I said that is because I was looking at it from my lens. So I had to, in sports, we can't wear head wraps. We can't wear business professional. Whereas in the medical field, there are little things that you can do with your attire that kind of makes you stand out. So my husband showed me like various examples of women wearing, Daffy Duck scrub caps. And I was like, oh, wow, that's different. Or like Daffy Duck scrubs. And I was like, they're not in pediatrics. And he's like, no, she just really likes Daffy Duck. And I'm like, got it. Okay. So with that, we were like, okay, let's test the market. Let's get a few caps. Let's create some and send them out to your anesthesia friends and people in the medical field. And we sold out of our first batch of 500 in 4 or 5 days. Wow. So we knew we were onto something, and we knew that the market was demanding something a little bit more unique, but we had to add a twist. It couldn't just be scrub caps. We decided to add satin line. So, us women, we like to sleep on satin pillows because it's really good for our skin. Same with hair. Satin really protects your hair from drying out, from shedding, from just looking if it lacks luster, you definitely want to sleep on a satin pillowcase. So we added satin and that blew up. Like that just took our caps from oh, this is a nice pattern to, oh my goodness, this is a really beautiful pattern and it's functional.
Mhm.
So we knew instantly that this was the time, this was before the pandemic even started. We knew that we had something and we were going to grow it. So it became a part-time job for me. I had to learn Shopify. I had to learn coding. I had to learn marketing in not in the sports sense, but just in an e-commerce sense of marketing. And it was intense, but my husband and I, it made us closer. We had our moments where we were like, we don't really want to talk right now because we're not agreeing on anything. So then that's when we split up the work. You know, I was more design, more of the social media, more of the website, and he was more of the finance piece because he has a financial background. He went to undergrad for finance, so before he became a CRNA. So it's been really tough. I'm not going to deny that, especially during the pandemic, because it is like juggling two different jobs because of the demand. But I love it. It forces me to stay organized. It forces me to appreciate my full-time job and all the resources we have at the Washington football team. And then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, you got to put your other hat on.
Right.
So it's been great.
That's really cool. And so you kind of answered our question about how do you guys work on this? Do you put work aside once at home? But it seems like you guys have worked out a great balance for that.
Yeah, we had to. And luckily with anesthesia, sometimes they have downtime. So he's not in the operating room and he's in his private room. He'll hop on the computer and he'll crunch numbers and
Uh-huh.
see where our next, big sale is going to come from, like which companies we're going to start working with. And that's actually our new venture, is working with the government to be a supplier of medical scrub caps because they're so unique and different.
That's great. I did want to ask, bring it back to Black History Month. I saw a blog on your company website that talks about people of color still being in the minority in the medical field, and that creating a community of support for Black health professionals is important. Can you expand more on this, the importance of this network? And I know this is your husband's field, but you have gotten into it, girl, so go ahead.
Yeah, so for him, when he broke that down to me, I could relate because that's how it is in sports. There's very few African Americans in leadership position, let alone women. And so when he expressed his sentiments about not having that support or the numbers, I knew exactly where he was coming from. So Tribal Wave is a way for people to identify each other, whether it's in the hospital or outside of the hospital. Like, our caps are so unique that it brings a sense of family and familiarity to the hospital. So granted, it's not only for African Americans, it's for anyone that appreciates anything regarding the diaspora, the African culture, because that's where it comes from. We're both Nigerian. And so bringing it into the hospital, we've gotten a lot of traction. People are just enamored with the beauty of the caps itself. And that alone brings a sense of community to the medical field. So now it's like, okay, not only do I have this great cap, but you're also a supporter and I'm African American, and here we are. Let's talk, let's have a conversation, let's support one another. So that's kind of what the caps do.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was just about to say it provides a sense of community. It's similar to professional sports, where if you're walking on the street and you see the the Washington football team logo, you're like, oh, we have this in common. It's a sense of community and a sense of pride, and it opens, lets the barrier down to have those conversations. So I love that you said that. And speaking of community, can you talk to us about the network that the Washington football team is creating internally through the Ben and the Win networks initiatives?
Yeah, definitely. I love what we're doing as an organization when it comes to Ben. Ben does a lot of great outside of the workforce programming, which I think is awesome. I think it's raising awareness about the unique people that we have within the organization, but it's also raising awareness about the African Americans within the organization. Like, we have skill sets that we like to share, and we have ideas and things that we want the world to know about. Where and Win, which is, I'm on the board with Stephanie, it's exactly what the women needed. You know, we needed a sense of sisterhood. I feel like too many times in sports, women are kind of competing with each other, and not just in sports, I think just in society as a whole. And I'm so against that. I'm all about bringing people with me and people riding the wave with me and helping others. I've been in sports for 10 years and I'm now just a senior manager, you know, whereas you ask a guy who's been in sports for 10 years, he's might be a VP, you know. So as women, we kind of have to rest on each other and support each other and remind each other, like, keep going, you're going to get to the next level. These are the resources that I have that might help you. And that's what WIN provides. Ben, same thing. Their goal is to empower and grow the women or the African Americans within the organization and promote them to prominent positions. And that's super important because my insights and what I've gone through and what I see every day can add value to the work that is being taken place at the Washington football team. But you're not going to know that if you don't put me in the position, you know? Yeah. So I'm in both. I'm Ben and I'm WIN.
Right. And it's the Black Engagement Network and the Women's Initiative now for our listeners, because I feel like we're still teaching and telling people how great these, you know, employee resource groups are that we have. And I'm so glad to be working with you. I'm a member of both, and I just see the growth that we've already had within the company. Diversity can be outward, but there's also a diversity of talents now within, which is just as important as the outward diversity. So I'm excited 100%. About our future.
I agree with that, Stephanie.
Yeah, and when you're talking about the importance of, you know, taking your own personal experiences and sharing them for the greater good to make change and foster change, and then also to just create that understanding. If you really had to just think about your own life, and you mentioned having to be agile and having to shift and adapt and do different things, if you had to go back to your younger self, what would you tell yourself? Like, what advice would you give yourself?
This is going to be this. Please forgive me for saying it, but I would have told my younger self to hold off on school.
That's okay.
Especially if I wanted to stay in the sports industry, because I feel like school taught me a lot of things, but in sports, it really holds you back a bit in your career trajectory in terms of growing. I would have done school part-time and I would have stayed working full-time. It would have been hard, but it wouldn't have been any different from what I'm doing now, trying to run a business with my husband and staying on top of my full-time job and making sure that that's not lacking. So I would tell myself, don't quit sports altogether. Just do work, school part-time and work full-time.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I did my MBA part-time during working for the Washington football team. And I hate to say it too, but I haven't seen that make a difference. And so maybe in the future, if we go somewhere else, but yeah, I'm sorry, moms that are like mad that we're saying this, but stay in work, do it part-time.
Yeah, do it part-time. Because I think what I missed out on was that career growth. Mm-hmm. Like I had mentioned earlier, you know, I missed that opportunity where my peers were still grinding away in the office. I was reading books and writing papers, which is fine. And I think timing is always everything. And I think I'm poised to be in a really good position here with the Washington football team. I think a lot of leadership believe in me, which is awesome. But at the same time, I think that I would have learned a few more things from the career side if I would have stayed full-time and just went to school part-time. So that's what I would have told my younger self. And then make sure it's free, of course. Somebody else has to pay for it.
Yes, agreed.
It also hits on the whole, you know, you can learn from those experiences, and what you can learn in a classroom is great, obviously, but not the same as just being kind of in the weeds and going through the trenches and the grit of just having those experiences. So I love that you're just so vulnerable and honest about that, because as someone who works in the sports industry as well, and I always kind of go back and forth with, do I go back to school? Do I want to give up, you know, this job? And I think it's just great, valuable advice. And I feel better about my choices so far that you said that.
Definitely part-time. And your degree doesn't say you got a part-time MBA. Like,
that's true.
Your MBA
just has the letters.
Because MBA, just like mine says MBA, you know. So I think as younger sports executives, sometimes you think, oh, it's going to show that I did part-time, and that's not going to look as strong as it's all in our heads.
Well, and speaking of that, I want to ask, what motivates you daily? Like we keep talking about how much you have going on, and it's important to also take time for yourself. So what motivates you daily? And also, what do you do that's just for you?
My motivation definitely comes from my son. He is my first son. He's awesome. And when I had him, I knew that I wanted whatever I could give him. I never wanted to have to tell him no. Obviously, we as parents, we still have to tell our kids no, but just in terms of the things that he desires and what he wants to aspire to do. And I want him to see a woman that could kind of juggle it all and not have a breakdown. Like I don't see myself ever being the woman or the mom that sits around and just kind of waits for things to happen to me. I want him to see that his mom's a go-getter. She was able to work. She picked me up. She took me to practice. She has a business with daddy. And, you know, they share that bond. Like I that is what motivates me the most. And then in terms of what I do for myself, I love to sleep. It's so simple, but I love to sleep. My husband will tell you that I could sleep till noon on a Saturday, kid or no kid. I just do it. And I think Janine and I had a conversation about the importance of waking up early and starting your day on a routine. And I just looked at her like, right.
She straight told me no.
Like,
That's
no,
not
girl.
happening. I'm sleeping.
What was
in.
that? Because I overheard this conversation.
It was during the panel with Ben and the Black Engagement Network, and Janine was talking about the importance of routine and things like that. And don't get me wrong, routine was important when I was in grad school. It was important when I was in college, and it's still important now, but we create a life where we're able to maximize our days the way we want to. So I'm the one that rather just stay up late. I'll stay up late and get things done. I'll clean at night, which is super weird, but I will clean at night if I can just rest and I think that's what helps me juggle it all. Like I haven't had a mental breakdown. I haven't felt too overwhelmed and I can't handle this. It's really just because I sleep and I get that rest. 5 hours is not enough, people. Don't let anyone else fool you. Don't let Beyonce fool you. Like she sleeps.
Yeah. Well, and two, I think it's cool that your testament of it, you know, just because you hear that this is a best practice, you know, to have that morning routine, get up before the sun, like all of these things, and you're going to be more successful. Just because you hear that a lot, it doesn't mean that that formula works for everyone. Mm-hmm. And you are testament to the fact that your morning is at night, you know, so you're most productive at night and you get things done at the night and that works for you. So everyone has to kind of find their own balance. So I love that.
But I do agree, like the whole workout piece, Janine, that you suggested, it's better to do it in the morning because by the time you get, by the time it's like 8 o'clock, you're like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
No, you're like, I'll have a glass of wine instead.
I'm not doing that.
Well, it's also good that you give yourself grace. You just, you know, like this is what works for me and this is how I'm going to do it. And that is so important that you're so in tune and you listen to what you need and what your body needs and what works for you. So I just love that.
Yeah, I think the other way would stress you out. It would just make things more difficult for you as an individual, a wife, a mother, if you're trying to adhere to what other people tell you is the way to do things. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to come on the WOW. I know the Washington football team is very fortunate and lucky to have you, not only as an employee there, but leading the charge on a lot of the initiatives and being that change agent. So thank you so much for joining the WOW and good luck with everything that you are doing. You are a busy woman and it is an honor to have you here.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thanks, ladies.
Has your business been affected by COVID-19? Have you considered reducing or moving your office space? Then it's time to call Victory Van. We provide the best service and price with flexible options for your company's moving and storage needs. Visit victoryvan.com to get your free moving and storage quote today. For corporate storage and moving, it's always the right move to choose Victory Van. That's victoryvan.com, Victory Van Corporation, delivering excellence for 75 years and proud partner of the Washington football team.
Finch Services Incorporated, recognized in its industry as a world-class organization, is the exclusive supplier of John Deere golf and sports turf maintenance equipment for the Mid-Atlantic region. In business since 1945, Finch helps golf course and sports turf managers maintain some of the most exclusive playing surfaces in the region. Experience the Finch advantage for yourself. Contact one of our golf and sports turf sales specialists to see how we can help you maintain your field of dreams. Go to finchturf.com for more information.
At RTS, game day strategy doesn't stop when the whistle blows. RTS delivers smarter, more responsible waste and recycling services. As an official partner of the Washington football team, RTS is connecting the team and FedEx Field with sustainable solutions to care for the community and the environment. RTS, a better waste company. Find out more at rts.com. A new decade demands a new kind of wine. As consumers continue to embrace healthier lifestyles with beverages that taste great and keep in line with their dietary preferences, and wine is no exception. Fresh Vine Wine thoughtfully crafts great tasting premium wines that are low calorie, low carb, low sugar, keto, vegan friendly, and gluten free. Fresh Vine Wines pairs perfectly with your active lifestyle without sacrificing on taste. Available in select stores in DC and Maryland.
You can hear every Washington football team game on the Team 980 and streaming on the radio.com app. Listen to Team 980 every day for expert analysis, Washington football guests, and your calls along with hosts Kevin Sheehan, Washington football legend Brian Mitchell, Steve Zabin, and more on the official radio of home of the Washington football team. Download the radio.com app and favorite the Team 980 today to listen on your phone or smart speaker.
This winter, be confident in a rugged all-wheel drive Honda SUV. And now is the perfect time to buy. Take advantage of the savings during the Honda 0% event. Honda is offering its best ever APR on the entire SUV lineup: CR-V, HR-V, Pilot, Passport, and Ridgeline. With features like Honda Sensing, magic folding seats, and 3 different driving modes. Don't miss your chance to get a great deal on your favorite Honda SUV. See your local Honda dealer today.
We are heading into WOW Overtime. And before we talk about all the amazing things we have coming up next month, we need to touch on some very, very important things that Hairat just mentioned. I love the whole sense of community. And I love that that was kind of the driving force, is that they would see people in the medical field, which obviously there's a time to be in your uniform and to be toned down, but also to be able to have that sense of independency and that style and to be able to express yourself and your culture. And I just love that that was kind of the point behind their business plan, is they wanted to give people a sense of community and a place to have that dialect and that dialogue. So that was just something I thought was really cool. We talk about it, like I said, in sports, where you see someone wearing your logo and it kind of puts that wall down and you instantly have that connection, and you can let your guard down. So I think that's just a really cool thing. And I can see 100% why, one, Washington football team has her. You do not need to let her go. And 2, why she is leading the charge on a lot of these initiatives.
Yeah, and it's just, proof that you don't have to be a large corporation like the Washington football team to create that sense of community, right? So, I always talk about here is that we have a team of teams. So within Washington football, we've got our players, and we've got Ben, and we've got Win, and we've got the sales department, we've got premium sales, like we have, marketing platforms, and these are teams within teams. And then she went outside of Washington football team and created another community just with her company. And I think that everyone needs to kind of remember and know that you don't have to be a big franchise to bring people together that have commonalities, to start conversations that are extremely important, or to just have that sense of community, because it's needed, especially in this time. So many people feel isolated. So many people feel alone, and just seeing, a headband or a t-shirt or a logo can really help bring a community together and start a very important dialogue on very different topics. So I just think it's really cool that her and her husband started a company with the idea of, this is going to help people immediately identify, oh, okay, we have a connection. And that really helps to warm the environment.
Yeah.
Speaking of coming together, let's talk about events we have coming up. I know that WOW is doing a lot for Women's History Month. So Steph, what do we have coming up?
Yeah, so WOW, obviously we look to empower and connect women throughout the month, well, all year. But for Women's History Month this March, we're bringing together motivational speakers, workouts with all different fitness backgrounds, and it's to get us mentally and physically strong together. That's our key statement today: together, a community. And so we're kicking it off next week. So Wednesday, March 3rd is the Empowered Women panel. And the rock stars on this panel, it is Wednesday from 6:30 to 8, and it's free. You'll go to our hub on Washington Football /Women's History Month, and you'll see all of our events. But I just want to tell you a few of these women. First of all, it's going to be moderated by Jackie Bob Pearson, who she was our moderator for our leadership brunch in November in 2019. Phenomenal woman. Ann Stone, who's the founding member of the National Women's History Museum in Virginia. She's a character. You're going to love her, along with Bonnie Morris, who was recommended as well by the Women's History Museum. She's a history professor for women's history. She's written 8 books on women and women in sports, anything you can name about women and what we're doing for the world. Gretchen Ham, who is the Chief Growth Officer of Washington Spirit. So that's our women's soccer league. How fantastic. I can't wait to hear from her. Jordan Hill, the whole panel is presented by Men Liminal. She is a VP of operations there. More importantly, she started there as a single mother and really grew in her career there. So I can't wait to hear her story. Melanie Johnson, who we've had on before on the WOW show. She's the president and COO of MGM National Harbor. You guys remember her, right? We had her for Black History Month last year. Yeah. She's fantastic. And then the Queen Bee, Stephanie Rivera. She obviously was a former WNBA assistant coach and has been on our show, and can't wait to hear from her. So that's just the panel that kicks off. And then every Monday after that, starting on March 8th, which is Women's International Day, we're doing a motivational speaker and a workout together. And they're all themed. So you have to go to the hub, you have to check it out. The first one, we're going to have Ann Stone again about paving the way, just because she's I want to say a bad. Yep. She's really good. And so Deanna Robinson is going to do that circuit training. Then the next Monday, the 15th, empowering our girls with Coach Jennifer King. And we're going to do a partner workout. So for that, we want people to bring their sister, their mom, their daughter, their cousin, their mentee, whoever. Monday, March 22nd, Creating Change with Love with Dr. Suzanne Nixon. I know you've heard her speak before. She's amazing. We're going to do yoga. And then our final one is economic empowerment. So these women have started their own businesses. They're right here in the DMV. And then we'll do a workout with our own Maya Bonello. So super excited about all of that.
Stephanie, you have been busy. This is amazing. I am so excited for all of these events. This is great.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Like jotting it down on my calendar. I got a busy month ahead.
Right? You're like, okay, so every Wednesday and then every Monday. It's after work, so 6:30 for the first one, and then 6 o'clock after that. You'll be done by like 7:45.
Great. And our whole theme of this show is community. So we're given a sense of community every Monday and Wednesday. It's great.
Yeah, and just an opportunity to learn from other people's experiences. And I really feel like that's literally the best way to do it. You know, you've got personal development and you have the opportunity to also work out, like all of these different things that we're touching on as far as topics, but then really being able to, it's not just a podcast, it's not just YouTube videos or a book. You actually can ask questions and you can get feedback and make it more personal to you and your needs. So I'm really looking forward to the entire month of activities.
Thank you.
And speaking of Women's History Month, we also are going to do our 1-year show wrap up. I cannot believe it's already been over a year, but just want to let our listeners know to be on the lookout for that show. It's going to have all of our favorite moments over the last little bit over a year. And speaking of that, please, if you have a show that sticks out to you, a quote from one of our guests, just a favorite moment, a blooper that one of us did, just go ahead and send it to us on social media. We would love to get all of your feedback and make it part of the show that's coming up. So be on lookout for that. That's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for joining the WOW Connecting and Empowering Women Through Sports, brought to you by our amazing partners, Fresh Fine Wine. Till next time. See ya.
Bye. Y'all can skip the bloopers of Janine, please.
Chesapeake Employers Insurance has been helping Maryland businesses keep their workers safe. With competitive pricing and an AM Best A- financial strength rating, it's no surprise that Chesapeake Employers is Maryland's largest writer of workers' comp insurance.
At the end of every workday, someone's waiting for your safe return.
Connect with your agent or visit CEIWC.com.
Reliable power from Novec keeps us connected to so many good things. Life-saving equipment and life-affirming moments depend on reliable, safe electricity that keeps us plugged in and powered up. And as a not-for-profit cooperative owned by the people it serves, Novec keeps rates low and service high. Novec, keeping life bright.
Every time the Maryland Lottery sells a Fast Play Progressive ticket, the jackpot grows. The Lucky Numbers Fast Play game has a jackpot that starts at $100,000 and goes up from there. New Diamond Mines jackpot starts at $250,000 and keeps growing and growing. Play all the Fast Play Progressive games from the Maryland Lottery. Play fast, win fast. And please play safely and responsibly.
Hey, Washington fans, sports betting is officially live in Virginia. Right now, FanDuel is offering a $25 sign-up bonus to anyone who uses code WASHINGTON. Just visit FanDuelSportsbook.com or download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Use promo code WASHINGTON after signing up to get a $25 bonus and site credit. No deposit required. That's promo code WASHINGTON. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app to get started. Must be at least 21 years of age and present in Virginia. Site credit is non-withdrawable and expires in 7 days. Terms apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.